Hello, beautiful people. Thank you very much for joining live on the page of Coaching Rail. My name is Mariya, and I'm your intuitive mentor and a CAP facilitator. For those of you who don't know what CAP is, it's a process for activating your life force energy. I've given a lot more information if you're interested in the last few videos in my lives on Coaching Rail. And if you stay until the end of this conversation today, I'll let you know how you can really enroll in the last minutes, literally in the last minutes, in the last couple of days to enroll for my deeply transformational program using CAP. It is probably going to be one of the most transformational things that you have ever done. And I'm only going to give the discount to those of you who write in the comments below tonight. So stay until the end. Right, so what we're going to talk about today is how to make the first step towards our dreams. This is our topic for today. And before we actually enter straight into our topic, I'd first like to say what I do, just to provide a little bit of context and where I'm coming from when it comes to this topic. Well, what I do is I give people the opportunity to live in sync with their true and inherent nature and purpose and create true, conscious, loving relationships in their life. So with my coaching programs and courses and energy work, the purpose of everything that I do is to give people the opportunity to create life consciously in sync with their true nature and purpose in life, particularly when it comes to love and relationships. Okay, so now we're going straight into our topic, how to make the first step towards our dreams. Most of the people on planet Earth that live in 21st century, all of us get taught the same thing. So before I actually delve into this, I just wanted to take a second to really think about it. What do you think is the first step towards your dreams? What is the first step? And even if you have to just pause the live session, if you're listening this into the podcast as a podcast, just pause that and take a second to think about what do you think is the first step towards your dreams, and then compare to what I'm going to say. So everybody nowadays get taught by mainstream media and all the coaches that exist in the world that you need to work hard, work hard, work hard. We've seen all these motivational speakers that constantly preach and talk how we need to just get up early, do work, train, do all sorts of different things. And as much as it works, it also doesn't. I don't know if you've noticed, but the people that usually work so hard are not the people that achieve anything. And even if they achieve something, they're super exhausted all the time. And I'll tell you why. We constantly get taught that we need to work, that we don't deserve to just receive for the pure pleasure of it. And we literally get taught that we need to just constantly work. As a result of this, we develop consciousness and mentality that in order to receive, we need to give. And there's just no free lunch as such. That really shows that really contradicts the abundance that exists in the universe, the abundance that exists in life. The tree didn't do anything to have so much fruit coming out of it, the planet Earth, didn't do anything, to grow so much grass on it, it just grows, it just grows. And there's just so much abundance that exists out there, but we just don't tap into that frequency. We just don't tap into it. And why do we do this and how? So there's two states of being. There's either doing or being. And you can't be in those two in the same time. That's the thing. You're either doing or you are being. And with this, I'm going to very clearly explain what being is and how you can really use those two different states of being in order to make the most out of life, in order to live in abundance. So the trick here is not to stop working. I'm not telling you to just stop working and go meditate or just go levitate. I'm just not saying that. I love working and I love my work, but I don't work like, just like non-stop. It's really about working smart in using your inherent abilities of attracting, to attract the right circumstances and the right activities towards you. And when you do them, then, and then when you do them, you identify them and you do them, then you end up creating the results that you love with less amount of work. So how do we do that? So we are either in the doing or we are in the being. When we are in the doing, we're not in the being. And when we're in the being, we're not in the doing. So how do we use those two energies together? So a lot of people focus on the doing, right? A lot of people focus on doing. But when we're focused on the doing, we actually lack the substance within us. We lack the feminine principle within us, because the doing is the masculine principles of life. And that has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. The masculine and the feminine principles in life, the principles of creating, in life, are two different states of being for every human being, regardless of gender or sexual orientation or whatever you name it. So the masculine principles of creating is in the doing, is in taking action towards a certain goal. And the feminine principle of creating is in the state of being, is in the state of attracting. So the question is, how do we attract the things that I need to create what I love? Because when we focus on the doing without going inside to check within ourselves, what is it I'd love to create? Because what we would love to create really is our soul nature and purpose. It's what we came here to create in the first place. It goes beyond what the rational mind can really comprehend. It goes a bit deeper than this. And if we don't, go deep within ourselves to cultivate that inner peace, that inner quiet, the inner quiet, if we don't take minutes, and sometimes even hours to cultivate that inner silence, we will not be able to access the book that our soul wants to write. Because our souls came here to write our book, our own book. It is the book of our own life that we want to write. And we will not be able to create the love that we would love to create, the dreams that we have, because that's the purpose of the dreams. The dreams is the way our consciousness communicates to us what we came here to create. This is the dream, what life that we want to have. And that's what dream really is. Our dream life, in realizing our dreams, is what we're really dreaming about, is the life that we would love to create. That is the life that our soul wants to live. This is the life that when we live it, we want to live it. We feel that this is our life and we wouldn't want it any other way than the way it is. That's what our soul is calling us to do. And if we don't follow that calling, we would always live a life that is mediocre and just not aligned with who we are, and we're always going to get exhausted. So see what happens. We've got that in a container of all the wisdom and all the information that we need about our life that we want to create, our purpose, our direction, our inherent talents, our inherent resources and abilities that we have and carry without, regardless of, our experiences. We just carry all that inherently. And unless we tap into that inner wisdom, we would just be acting on something that just has no energy in it. We're just constantly going to be giving energy. We're constantly going to be giving energy and pouring energy out of us, and just constantly going to be doing. But our actions are just going to be, even if they produce results, because all actions produce results, the results are not going to be so fulfilling. And when something is not so fulfilling, it loses itself. It disappears. Imagine you starting something new, and then you're all excited because you started something new, but then slowly it kind of fades away, and then you start lacking motivation, you start lacking desire to do it. You're just, I can't bother anymore. These are the type of people that, because they don't go in deeply, they just go and constantly try to find different things to do, to try out different things without going inside and trying to find the answers within themselves. So they constantly act, but their actions lack substance, So when we do that, we're literally wasting our energy. We're literally wasting our energy, and it just goes in thin air. All the results that we get are just not aligned within us. So we literally start losing our life force energy, start losing our motivation, inspiration in life. So unless we really come into that space of inner quiet and listen to what is it that we'd love to create, and what is it that we'd love to, what is the life that we'd love to live, then we'll not be able to go into the right direction that really motivates us inherently from within. Because when we do follow the urges of the soul from within, what happens is that when we invest the time and the energy into the things that we love, all the results that we produce, they motivate us, they inspire us. It's just give and take. It's just give and take. We give, but we also receive the pleasure out of it, and it changes the whole game, doesn't it? It doesn't go into thin air. The energy doesn't go into thin air. It comes back in form of pleasure. But see what happens. Even when you know what you'd love and what you came here to create, if you are still focused only on the doing, and you don't revisit the inner quiet, don't revisit, the peace and the joy of everything, and you just don't enjoy life, and you're just constantly in the doing, you end up exhausting yourself to the point that you even start hating what you love, and hating your purpose, and hating your clients, and hating life. And that is because we are never taught about the other state that exists, is the state of being. And it's a very powerful state to be in. And we have never been taught in school how to use that creatively. We are always taught that we need to work in order to receive. But here am I to tell you that you can't just work. I mean, you can, but first, you're going to get exhausted. And second, you would never know whether you're going in the right direction. In fact, you will know you will be completely dissatisfied, and you just be in the wrong direction, confused all the time what you're doing. Or you're just going to be convinced you're going in the right direction until you realize you're not. And then you're going to have to start again. And nobody wants that, So the state of being is a very key way of being. The state of being is a state of relaxation. Because in the doing we have all our muscles tense, and we're going to do something, whether that is sport, whether that is work, whatever it is. When we're in the doing, we are tense and we are giving energy. And when we are in the state of being, we are relaxed, we're just enjoying ourselves. And this is when, we are open to receive, we are open to feel, and we are open to receive. And when we are in the state of just enjoying ourselves, that means that we are receiving the pleasures, we are receiving the feeling of pleasure even. And when we're in that state of receiving, then our whole energy just opens up, just opens up more and more. So the more we invest in our inner quiet, and the more we invest in our relaxation, and the more we invest in our pleasures, the more we actually attract and connect to the frequencies, to magnetizing the things that we love. And unless we go into that state of receiving and pleasure and just enjoying ourselves, we will not be able to attract the things that we love. We're always going to just run after all these things that we want, and we might not even reach them, or we're going to reach them, but it's going to be so damn hard, and it's going to be just down the line. But if we embrace that state of being, the state of receiving and magnetizing and just enjoying life and just taking time for ourselves and taking time to relax and taking time to be with our loved ones, taking time to be with our parents or children or the people that we care about, our friends, and just or even just enjoy just being with ourselves and watching a beautiful sunset or a sunrise or just having a great cup of tea or coffee and just appreciating the moment. All these moments open up our space and our energy field for receiving. This is how we are telling ourselves, I'd love to receive. This is how we are telling our subconscious mind, I'm ready to receive. And this is when we open up. In this state, we actually receive the abundance of life. Doing comes secondary. Because you see, it is first thing for the inner quiet, to cultivate the inner quiet so that we can hear that voice. And once we choose that, it's about hanging in there. It's really about hanging in there, enjoying life, making the most out of it, giving yourself the pleasures of life. Until an action is really obvious, until an action is really damn obvious. And don't and when as long as we don't engage in a necessary action, we that means we're not wasting energy. We start wasting energy when we're trying to rush, when you're trying to rush into life and try to take action before it's obvious. This is when we actually slow down the process of receiving. This is when we really say to ourselves, I don't trust my feminine principle, I don't trust my own intuition, I don't trust my inherent ability to magnetize and attract the things that we love. And we're saying, I need to do in order to receive. That is a belief on its own, a limiting belief that a lot of people have, that puts people in exhaustion, that puts people in actual danger, of really having a miserable life. And unless we learn and master the skill of really mastering our inner quiet and really becoming patient and really enjoying ourselves enough and really giving the joy of life to ourselves, unless we do that, we're always going to be exhausted. We're always going to be miserable. And in usually in the capitals of every country or different other places in big capitals like London, for example, where I live, it's so easy to get bogged down into this kind of energy where people just work. They're just doing. It is just makes so much pressure in my gut. It's just unbelievable. It makes me sick. This is not the purpose of life. A purpose of life is just like nature. It's meant to be abundant. We're meant to feel alive. Guys, we're meant to feel alive. And in order to create that, we need to see what really works for us. We need to find our inner quiet. We need to find what our direction is and start making conscious choices in relation to that. We need to start cultivating that inner peace. And we need to start finding what really brings us pleasure in order to start opening that presence, that inner quiet, in the state of attracting, in the state of magnetizing, so that the right people and the right circumstances come into our life. Then when these things come to us and present ourselves in front of our eyes in our material physical world, then we take action. So the way we work is by just enjoying ourselves. That is the inner work that we need to do. And is to cultivate internally what we really love, and just cultivate that energy of living in pleasure and bringing pleasure to ourselves, and in all sorts of ways, whether that's going to be being with our loved ones, or whether that's doing something nice for ourselves. And then we really open up ourselves for receiving. And then when it's obvious, we take action. And this is how we use the doing and the being, the giving and the receiving, the pouring out and the pouring in. This is how we balance these energies out to attract the right circumstances and people in our lives. And then we take action when they're really obvious. That way we do take action, we go into the energy of doing, but only when it's obvious. We pick smart, we work smart, picking the right opportunities for us when they come. Because sometimes there are going to be a lot of opportunities coming in because we're going to start magnetizing it all. But then discerning, only when we're in our peace and in inner quiet, we can discern what's right, what's true, what's not. Because we live in a world where there's just so much information everywhere around us. We're just bombarded with marketing strategies and different luring strategies for people to want to sell things to us. And if we don't have our inner guiding system and inner quiet to differentiate between what's true for us and what is not, then you're just going to waste your energy. You're just going to waste your energy. You're going to end up exhausting. And that's not what we want. We want to live our life. We want to be inspired. We want to create the life of our dreams. And the only way to do this is to really hear who you really are, what your values, what puts you in a state of receiving, what are the things that bring you pleasure, and do them, and do them. And when the actions become obvious, you take them. If it's obvious that you need to apply for a job, you apply for a job. But that's going to be obvious only if you've got the inner quiet. Only if you've cultivated that inner quiet that can differentiate between what's true and not true for you. So if you are one of those people that is constantly in a rush, that is constantly trying to do more, and more, and time is never enough, I'll tell you, you just don't know what you're doing. You just don't know who you are, and you don't know what you're doing. And you need to slow down, and you need to give time to yourself to really recover, maintain your inner quiet. And in that space, you might see a solution that is a higher solution than what your mind can perceive, that helps you from a higher perspective, to do something that's going to resolve all that busyness, that's going to really help you have more time and less work. But only when you cultivate your inner quiet. So now you see that it's very important to cultivate your inner quiet, because if you don't do that, your actions lack substance. Really, it's just thin air. And if you don't cultivate your inner substance, you're just never going to be truly satisfied in life. You're never going to be grounded in where you stand. You're just going to be doing things that are not so fulfilling, and you're always going to feel lack inside of you. And if you feel like you're lacking inside of you, you're always going to attract that lack, that energy of lacking. Because what we are inside is what we attract outside. Life is just merely a reflection of who we are. And if something is not okay in your life right now, it is because there's something within you that's creating that lack. It's something within you that's creating that, whether that's loneliness or lack of money or lack of connection with people, or lack of purpose, or lack of the ability to make decisions, or whatever it is. There's part of it that's creating that, and you need to look at, you need to cultivate your inner quiet, to be able to ask that question: what I can do to serve myself, and what the first place, what part of me creates that? What part of me creates that overload? And how can I support myself in going beyond that, in creating a life where I have a lot of time to enjoy myself, and I work smart, and I receive money doing what I love, So it's really key. It's really key, and it's really important. And I can't stress enough how important that is. And if you are somebody who is used to do, constantly be in the doing, then you probably have resistance to what I'm saying. You probably have resistance to sitting there and being quiet, and your mind is probably going wild and crazy and just running, a million miles an hour. And if you're one of those people, you just need it the most, in fact, because if you are bombarded with so much information, so much thought all the time, how do you differentiate what's true and what not? It's just chaos. Only when you quiet it, only when it's quiet, you can really see. I'm going to take you through a little exercise. And I'd like you to take a deep breath and exhale deeply. And I'd like you to just sit in a comfortable position, ideally with a straight back, so that you can be concentrated and not fall asleep. And I'd like you to just close your eyes. I'd like you to feel your body. I'd like you to take a minute to just feel your body where you are right now, in the room, where you're sitting. Just see where you are in the space that you're in. And I'd like you to just take a deep breath. Again. And I'd like you to feel what's inside of you. Focus on the inner quiet. Focus on the space in your chest. Focus in the space within. I don't want you to ask anything just yet. I just want you to stand and just sit in this space. Just want you to feel that space. Just want you to feel the void. I want you to feel the void. Now that we have felt the void, I'd like you to ask a question and put a question into the void. What is my true next step towards my dreams? Put that question out there. What is my true next step towards my dreams? And I just want you to listen. I don't want you to try to answer that with your mind. I just want you to sit in that peace, in that quiet. I just want you to just sit there and just listen. As if somebody's going to talk to you. Just listen. Don't rush. Take your time. And then you receive your answer. And I'd like you to remember that answer. I'd like you to write that answer to me in the chat and just write it down somewhere for yourself on your phone or somewhere on a piece of paper. And I'd like you to remember that. I'd like you to remember what you just heard. And I'd like you to remember the process that I just took you through. Because, a lot of people find it very difficult to connect with themselves and to cultivate the inner quiet. That is because all their lives they've been in the doing, and they've been constantly doing. And they've never been taught how to use that space and the inner quiet creatively to gain insight and, as a result, inspiration. Because when you have understanding understanding is an understatement. When you have an insight, what's in our highest and best good, it brings inspiration. Inspiration in spirit. We are in spirit. That means our spirit wants to go there, and it brings a whole other different vibration and frequency to us, and we no longer need external motivational speeches to motivate us, because when we operate from that space, we don't need external motivation. We have internal motivation. We don't need any of that. But that's only when we cultivate the inner quiet. That's the feminine principle of life. And on the outside, it might look like you're not doing anything, but you're actually doing massive amounts of work that most of the people are failing to do. And the reason why most of the people are not living abundantly on this planet is because they're underestimating the inner quiet. This is because the feminine principle in life is suffering right now. All masculinity is encouraged. And that has nothing to do with gender. I just want to stress it enough here. Masculine and feminine principle of creating is very separate to gender. It exists in both of us. It's the yin and the yang of every human being, regardless of gender. And we all know that in our societies, regardless of country, all the doing is being encouraged. Every time somebody goes and does something and achieves something, it's encouraged. Nobody encourages us to take our time, to sit in peace and quietly and to know ourselves. Nobody encourages that. At least not in formal education. And at least not in the standard families that exist on the planet. The usual stuff. And then we get out of balance. Then we get really exhausted and really unsatisfied, and we start hating the things that we usually love. And this is why, even if you know what you love, if you're overdoing it, you're still gonna hate it. This is why people don't turn their hobbies into work, because they imagine that it have to work just as hard, which is not true. Your soul doesn't want you to work your ass off. It just doesn't want that. It wants you to live abundantly, and it wants you to 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 attract and create the life that you'd love. It's just these two different aspects. We're creating the love that we'd love, but we're also attracting it to come to us. But in order to attract it, we need to be connected to that frequency that creates that. And in order to attract it on the outside world, we need to create that frequency within us. And the way we create it is by first knowing that that's what we'd love to create. That's the first time that frequency enters our mind and body and our energetic field. And then if we keep coming back to it, keep coming back for more insight, what's more about that, what's more about that, then we start cultivating that energy within us, and the channels keep opening up, and life start reflecting that. More of that comes in, and that's how we create the love that we love, by cultivating our true feminine principle of life, our inner quiet that puts us in our state of magnetism, in the state of attracting the right things, people, and circumstances that have the vibration that we're cultivating from within. And when it's obvious, we take action. So now we can see really the balance, how the inner work is just as important as the outer work. And if we do outer work or external action, if we've not done the work, we lack substance. We lack the substance. So I'd like you to think next, when you do something, why you're doing this. Is it supportive of your true nature and purpose, or are you just doing it because you're taught to? So I'd like you to start questioning. Life, it doesn't get easier when you question at the start. It gets more difficult until you orientate yourself, and until you start making, difference between what's true and what's not true for you. But you'll be able to do it. It's like going to the gym. At the start is hard, but then it gets easier and easier over time. And that is a skill that you need to master in life if you want to really thrive. If you are somebody that wants to thrive in life, you really need to cultivate the inner peace and the quiet, and start operating from that space and maintaining the inner quiet and operating from that space. Because if you don't, you're going to very quickly get exhausted, and you're never going to get the results that you'd love. Because at the end of the day, it's so much better to enjoy life and work less than work really hard and barely create and scrape the results that we want to create on top of our exhaustion. It just doesn't seem so fun. So that's in truth. The only real boundaries that we will ever have are within our minds. And until you really find them and understand what's keeping you locked and really go beyond that, you wouldn't be able to create. And the only way to find out is by cultivating your inner quiet. Within your inner quiet, you have all the answers. Spiritual leaders say, listen to the silence. All the information exists in the silence, not in the crazy chaos of our thoughts and dynamics of our crazy everyday lives, but in the inner quiet, in the silence. Then you can make right decisions. Then in the inner space, in the inner quiet, you'll receive the information that you need, and you'll be able to discern what's true and not true for you. So I'd like to take a minute to tell you about CAP, just like what I've mentioned at the start. CAP is a program. It's a process for activating our life force energy, and I'll tell you why I'm sharing this now in this life, in the context of what we're saying. I'm sharing this now because a lot of people struggle to go into their inner quiet, and a lot of people struggle to differentiate between the truth and not truth, and a lot of people can't figure out a way on their own to deal with their own barriers and their own blockages that exist, because we all know that our unconscious beliefs have emotional connotation, have emotional part to them, and all of that is just stuck in our bodies, in different parts of our bodies. And until we understand where these emotional blockages are and what they are and where they come from, we're just really stuck. And we know that our life is a reflection of who we are. So if we've got a lot of blockages and stuckness, there are aspects of us that are going to be fragmented and not allowing certain aspects to come into our lives. And these are different abundances in different areas of life for everyone. Somebody will be resisting love, others will be resisting money, others will be resisting true connections. Others will be resisting whatever their version of that is. And there will be different reasons for that. Some people will be not trusting because they've been hurt, or some people will be feel that they don't deserve, or they're not good enough. For everybody, that's going to be different, and it's going to be there for different reason, because of different ways of upbringing, different emotional, different emotions are going to be stuck. And what CAP does, CAP activates our life force energy. So the two transmissions that happen in CAP are Kundalini activation and non-dual consciousness activation, which means that we have the ascending energy and the descending energy being opened up and activated in the same time. There's other transmissions that happen as well, but I'm not going to talk about that. I also don't want you to compare this work, the CAP work, with any other Kundalini work that exists out there, because it's very different. Yes, it does activate Kundalini as part of it, but it's only one part of the equation. And because it's a mixture of transmissions that happen together in the same time, the effects are different. The results are different. What you get is different. So the practices might look similar on the outside, but what you get is different. What you get is different. And what you get with CAP is that the energy enters your body, it activates your life force energy, and it starts activating all of you that feels alive, that part of you that really feels alive. So it's going to open up that channel within you, and it's going to start moving through all the energy inside of you. And the energy's got intelligence. It's got intelligence, so it's always going to go into the places and the areas that you've got blockages, and it's going to help you. It's going to help you move through it. It's going to help you move all these blockages through your body, and that as a result of that, you might feel and experience different emotional states and different visions and all these different kinds of things that you can feel and experience during a CAP session. But what happens really is it's really freeing that energetic space inside of your body, and it's releasing deep traumatic experience that you might have had, and it's clearing up all of your energy, and it's opening you up. It's opening you up to all the possibilities that exist. It connects you with who you really are. It connects you with the frequencies of your true and inherent being, and what's really true in your highest and best good. It connects you with your purpose. It connects you with your inner talents that you carry within you inherently, your inherent abilities to create life, the life that you'd love. And what happens is, because you get connected to those frequencies, it opens up so much space for new things to exist, new frequencies that start existing within you. And as a result of that, your life starts changing. Some people drop out, other people appear, new opportunities appear, just new opportunities in every area of your life. And I cannot explain exactly what's going to happen for you, because everybody's different. Everybody comes from a different walk of life. It's in a different mental, emotional, physical, energetic, spiritual state. So when the energy enters into your body, I do not know what you're going to experience and what changes and shifts are going to happen within you. But what I do know, it's going to be in your highest and best good. You're going to have the most amazing experience, and the results that you're going to get are so amazing that your mind's going to be blown away. And I cannot explain the beauty and the pleasure of living such life. I really don't have the words to describe that. So if you are interested in experiencing CAP, please do connect with me. In the minute, I'm in the midst of organizing different spaces in London where I can run sessions in person. So I'm in the minute of organizing studios that I would love to work with, but I'm also energetically trying to feel what's the right space to work in. So it's taken me a little while, but I'll get there eventually. And if you are interested in experiencing CAP, please connect. Please drop me a private message, or just write in the comments below the word CAP, K-A-P, and I will connect with you, and I'll send you more details when I'm doing those CAP sessions, because it's really it's deeply transformational. It's deeply pleasurable to experience as well, and it's the most liberating work I've ever done. So I'd love you to experience that. I'd love to share that with you. And if you are interested, if you have a calling to try that, please do connect with me. I'll send you all the details about what CAP is, so that you can have some more information on that. Or you can also watch the previous videos, the previous live sessions that I've done in Coaching Real, because there are 2 of them that are specifically dedicated to CAP and what CAP is and how it works on our body and how it helps us realize our full potential. And I'd like you to watch that if you're interested, but also drop me a message and I'll send you more information, and I'll also keep you posted on the future events that are happening. Occasionally, I do free online sessions for people to try. Actually, it's happened only once for people to try out. I might do another one, but I cannot promise. I work intuitively, so I never promise what's going to happen in the future. I only do things that are intuitively are receive intuitively that I need to do. So I can't promise anything that is going to happen, but I will promise you that there will be live sessions in London. I can also promise you that there will be more sessions online via Zoom. So if you are somewhere outside of London and you're an English speaker and you'd love to try CAP, still connect with me, because I will be organizing in the future Zoom events. I also offer private sessions if you can't wait for the group sessions and you'd love to create some more space for private healing and private expansion and private transformation. So please drop me a message and I'll give you all the details about my private sessions that we can do via Zoom, regardless of where you are on planet Earth. I'll be absolutely thrilled to work with you and serve you in the best possible way that is really true for you. So I'd like to take just a second to say a huge thank you for everybody who's here live tonight. And I'd love to just wish you guys a lot of love, send you a lot of positive energy. And I hope that with our conversation that we had tonight, I inspire you to cultivate your inner quiet and ask for more guidance, because all the answers are within. All the answers are within. And yes, it's okay sometimes to get help, but unless you cultivate that inner guidance, all the help will be futile for you. So do take some time to spend more time with yourself and cultivate the inner quiet, and do reach out to me if you'd like to experience CAP. I'm super happy to serve the fellow people that really have calling to work with this. I say calling because I've noticed that the energy very often chooses who to work with. I've had a calling to work with this work about 5 years ago, before I even knew that CAP existed, and I knew exactly what the energy would do and what it does to our bodies, but I never knew it was in that form and shape. And when I came across CAP, I knew that was it. That was it. But it was from my inner quiet that I knew it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got into the trainings, and otherwise I wouldn't have done it myself. So that's the way I created it in my life. So I'm sure that you can create a lot of magic in your life if you do connect with your inner quiet, and CAP is going to give you the opportunity to do just that. So I'm sending you a lot of love, and I'm looking forward to your messages, and I'll see you next time.